God told us to do some things this week to sacrifice our time, all of our extra time, instead of watching TV and instead of making phone calls, to concentrate on Him, to either pray or read your Bible, do something that is edifying to the kingdom of God. So all week long, every time I get ready to make a phone call or every time I get ready to do something, God say, this is my time. And I said, oh yeah, yes, Lord, yes, Lord. But He gave me two things this morning. And the first thing He gave me, He said, anything premature still has to go through the process. Many times we get things prematurely outside of the timing of God. And we still have to go through the process. Even if you think of a person that when you have a premature baby, the premature baby has to still go in the incubator, and many times they'll go through ICU. Different things happen, and to make sure that the baby grows to a full-term baby. So many times we get things, and if it's outside of the timing of God, if we receive it prematurely, we still have to go through that process, that time where you may end up in ICU, and in that process, sometimes it brings you pain. That's right. Because when you have a child that's premature, you wonder, God, what are they progressing? What's going to happen? Because sometimes you go through a period where today they look like things are progressing, and then you might have a day where it looks like, well, the day wasn't not a good day. But when we get things outside the timing of God, or we get it too early, when we have to go through the process to get it to full stage, it's pain. There's pain in that process. And the second thing that God gave me, He said, many people, they rebel against purpose because they don't want to go through pressure, persecution, problems, or pain. They only want the prize. But they don't understand that when you go through persecution, when you go through pressure, when you master problems and pain, it gives you power. Because when you go through the process of being hurt and you master that, it gives you pain. It gives you enough strength that you won't go back to the same thing that caused you to hurt. So even when we be asking God for some things, we ask God. Now, we might ask God, I want this, but we forget to ask Him, God, is it lined up to your perfect will? Is it lined up into your timing? And God, He will give us our heart's desire. And many times our heart's desire is not that they don't line up to the will. They're just outside of the timing. And when we do things outside of the timing, when we have to still go through that process, it feels like, God, this is not you. But in actuality, it is Him. It's just you still got to go through that process. Even when when you have to have any kind of surgery, they always tell you, okay, when you're going to have a procedure, there are certain things you have to do. And most of the time they tell you got to fast. Have a laxative. Most of the procedures that you have, you got to do some uncomfortable things in order to be healed. So when we go through some pain, in order to be healed, we have to go through some things that are uncomfortable to get us to a place of healing. But we abort the process. How many of us, many times, when we go through a little pain, we try to do things that mask the pain. And when you go in, and even in going through a relationship, people that you go through when you're going through a bad situation with your spouse or your mate or however, even when you're dating, when you're married, however, when you get a little argument, the first thing you try to find is what's going to fill this void right here. Oh, he done made me mad. I'm going out tonight. She done made me mad. I'm going to hang with the fella. The first thing we do is find out what we can do to fill that void. And many times what we fill the void with are not the things of God. And God allow us to go to those things because we should be taking some steps back and, God, what is it that I need to learn from this? But instead of us learning, we're trying to feel. Feel that place where the thing that causing us pain, instead of enduring it and going through it and learning from it, we try to feel it. And then when we see it again, you got to start that process all over again. You got to start the process all over again. And it's not until you can sit and go And you sit there and you go just like a cake in the oven. It got to take that heat. If you open the oven too early, it's going to drop. You got to start all over. So that's how a lot of things are in our life. When we abort that part, when we open the oven too early, you got to start all over. You got to get all them ingredients all over again. All the ingredients that it took for you to get there, you got to get all them ingredients together again. And sometimes we go over problems over and over and over. Some people, they go from job to job to job to job. They lose house to house to house to house. They lose car to car to car to car. They lose friend to friend to friend to friend. They lose so many things because they be aborting the process. Because after you lose, you should learn from one thing. And when I don't call losing, I call losing learning. After you get one time, you shouldn't go through that same thing over again. When we go through some things one time, you're supposed to learn. People that just constantly lose things, they don't learn from it. That's when it's losing. When you have a cycle of the same thing, repeating the same thing over and over and over again, now you're not learning. Because when you're learning, you might go through some other stuff, but you ain't going to go through that same thing. You might lose a house this month, but you ain't going to lose another house. You might lose a car, but you ain't going to lose another house because you know what it took to get you to that place. So we have to get to a place where we learn from everything that we go through. And even when things feel like it's uncomfortable, we have to ask God, what am I supposed to get out? God, is this outside? What is it? Am I outside of the timing? God, am I outside of your perfect will? God, what is it that I'm supposed to learn from this situation? A lot of times we go through things because God said, no, it was not for you. Many times we see other people mastering things, and because it works for other people, we want to try it. And just because it worked for somebody else don't mean it's going to work for you. Everybody have a different gift. Some people can, they got the gift of gab. They can talk all day long and make a lot of money doing it. There's some people, they too shy. If talking was what they had to have to live, they go hungry. But everybody, God has given all of us a gift. And with those gifts, God has every gift that we possess should bring us wealth. That's right. Every gift that God has given to, because everything that he does is good. So if we tap in and find out, God, what is really my gift? What is my purpose, God? What role do I play? And if we do our part and the next person do their part and the next person do their part, everybody wins. But many times people can't win because they want to win by themselves. That's right. And they don't want nobody else to win. They don't want, I'm going to share this. I'm going to share this because I have experienced where when God bless people, I sow into their life. And I call it sowing into their season. Because if God is blessing you, that means that you in your season. Why would I not bless somebody in their season? Because it makes God realize that I can trust you. Most people get jealous when other people get into their season. And they don't want to, they try to figure out how I can do it better than them. Instead of sowing into their season and allowing God to, God, many times people, when they can sow into somebody, God say, hey, come here from the back. You've been waiting a long time. He'll have you to skip everybody who heart not right and bring you all the way to the front of the line and say, you know what? Because you congratulated in her season, I'm going to have to go ahead and I'm going to bless you in your season. I'm going to go ahead and change seasons and let this be your season. Because you had the heart of wanting to see somebody else blessed. Most people just want all the blessing for themselves. When I see people blessed, I mean, oh, you better go. Because I know once he finished blessing you, he got to go somewhere else. He got to go somewhere else. It was really, when God said this week that he was doing something, he has really been doing some things. And he said the best is still yet to come. I'm waiting on to see what the end of this week is going to bring. My God. And when he start blessing, if he bless your neighbor, that means he in your neighborhood. If your neighbor next to you getting blessed, that means God is in your neighborhood. If you in position, why is he going to skip over your house when he right? How many times have we had to do things and we say, I'm going to do this, this, and this. And then you get a call and say, well, hey, can you take care of this? And it's right down the street from somewhere you already been. So if God was already at your house, and I'm right next door, He not going to go across town to come back. If my heart is right and I'm lined up, when He leave your house, He going to stop by and drop me off a little something, something. But many people they're not in position because they too busy wondering how you got what you got, and it makes their heart put them out of the position where God said, I'm going to have to come back. He was right at your door. But we put Him in a position where now He can't bless us because we let something take our focus off of Him, or take our focus and our heart get a little messed up where God said, I can't bless you with your heart like that now. And it makes God have to go across town to come back. A lot of our seasons have been prolonged because we didn't want to see somebody else blessed. We couldn't see somebody else blessed, so our season had to be prolonged. Where the only thing we had to do, girl, God blessed you. And because God sees that you have a heart for others, He will turn right around and bless you. Pause that video.